You pointed out, John, that these videos also tell us something else. And in that one clip we just saw, we saw the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 and I think 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐄𝐥𝐞𝐜 fighters as well. So what was important there was that they appeared together, which showed that they're still able to communicate and coordinate. 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐄𝐥𝐞𝐜, of course, is the military wing of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and they fight side by side with 𝐓𝐡𝐞, and they coordinate all their actions. But the fact that they're able to demonstrate their presence on the streets of Gaza City in areas which a week ago were occupied by Israeli tanks, or in areas where the Israelis are still very, very close. Now, I want to shift, John, to a question in the last few minutes that we have, to what happens if the truce is not renewed. Right now we're in a 24-hour extension that is set to expire, I believe it is 7 a.m. local time in Gaza on Friday morning, and that will be a week exactly after the first truce started. There are talks going on right now about a further extension. At the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing that Israel is going to achieve all its objectives of destroying Hamas. He said that publicly after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited today, and once again voiced the caution that we've been hearing in recent days from the Biden administration. I do not want to absolve the Biden administration one bit from its complete involvement and complicity in this genocide. Nonetheless, in recent days, they seem to be getting cold feet. They're telling Israel, well, if you do resume and if you go into southern Gaza, we don't want to see the same level of forced displacement and killing of civilians and so on. So if the truce is not renewed, John, what are we looking at in terms of the resistance, in terms of what Israel may do? I'm conscious that neither Hamas nor the Israeli command are sharing their plans with you, but what do you see here in the minutes that we have?
I mean, I think just on the humanitarian, just to start, if Israel's going to wage a ground invasion into the southern part of Gaza, into Khan Yunis, where Mohammed Deif and Yahya Sinwar are from, and they've already pushed everybody out of the north, so now there's 2 million people trapped in this tiny corner of the Gaza Strip. When Israel invades, it's going to be brutal. And I just find it hard to even imagine that that's going to happen. But there's what's Israel's way out of this? The only accomplishments they've had are blowing up the parliament buildings, which the prisoners were just released like a block away from. You know, they sent their special forces in to, according to the IDF, assault Shifa Hospital. They just celebrated them during the truce, the guys that went in and take Shifa Hospital. They've doubled the number that they said they killed. They've been going with 1,000 to 2,000 for the whole for the last couple of weeks, and they doubled that to The Economist. They said 5,000. They've killed 5,000 fighters. So even if we say that's true, you're still talking about 35 or 40,000 other fighters that are all going to be concentrated. I mean, if they're going to fight in the south, they've cleared the entire north, which they said they were clearing it to fight. But apparently, if they're going to invade the south, the point of clearing the civilians out of the north wasn't to clear the battlefield, to have a face-to-face fight, and to eradicate 𝐓𝐡𝐞. It was obviously just a targeting of civilians. Otherwise, we would be talking about the war that's about to happen in the north, because the first stages, this is only the first stages of a ground invasion. And to push the civilians out, it's supposed to be to presume that you're going to then fight on that battlefield. But it's clear that they don't seem to be preparing to fight in that. They're preparing to now attack the area they told everybody to go to. And so I think that you can imagine, even if we take Israel's numbers, say 5,000 were killed. So where's the 35,000 other fighters? They're all concentrated, ready to fight and defend the area that Israel's going to invade next, because there's no reason to believe that 𝐓𝐡𝐞 threw all of their most important assets at the initial invasion, which we've said before. And so somewhere in this, if Israel's actually trying to eradicate Hamas and not just kill neonatal babies, they're going to have to, at some point, be willing to get out of their tanks and fight face to face, and take hundreds and to take thousands of casualties to do it. And I think what Tarek said is what I fear as well. That we're talking about tens of thousands of more people dying, and Blinken is sitting, doing good cop, bad cop. But what are there behind the scenes? Did Blinken tell Israel, you get 50,000 deaths, you get 20,000 dead kids for one event in the South that your army should have repelled but couldn't? What's this number? Like, what is the number where Blinken says, okay, that's enough? You've killed enough women and children. You've starved enough people. You've given them waterborne diseases that are spreading and killing.
The terrifying thing, John, is I think for the likes of Blinken, there is no number that's high enough, because, again, I go back to Ukraine, where Blinken, who seems to be in charge there because Joe Biden, it doesn't seem to really be aware of too much. Although I think he's not fit to be president, but he is fit to stand trial, is the way I look at it. But when it comes to Ukraine, the Americans are still throwing Ukrainian bodies at this impenetrable Russian army, and they just don't care how many Ukrainians are killed. So when they
those are soldiers. Those are soldiers that are prepared to fight. This is a number that we're trying to come up with. Is it 50,000 dead civilians? Because they're targeting civilians. They've only killed maximum a few thousand fighters at this point. And that number probably isn't even true, because we haven't seen signs of that.
I think they'd show it. They'd be desperate to show it.
And there's people all over the north.
If not through their official channels, they would be leaking it out through these Telegram groups that are populated with Israeli soldiers and so on. Even if Israel didn't want to get its PR hands dirty, as if they're not dirty, by putting out images of killed Palestinian fighters, it would be coming out through the informal Israeli channels. And as far as I know, we haven't seen it.
No, we haven't seen a Palestinian in any Israeli video yet, and we haven't seen signs of any kind of large scale casualties in a face-to-face fight. I mean, the IDF, let's just use the IDF numbers, 5,000. Let's say it's 5,000. So there's still 35,000 more 𝐓𝐡𝐞 fighters, plus there's 10 other armed groups. According to the Israeli number just yesterday, they said that the Yahalom unit, their tunnels unit, has blocked 400 tunnel shafts. But they themselves say there's 1,300. And we know from the testimonies of the captives that were released that people are riding around on motorcycles in these tunnels. So let's get a bit of a grip on what the war actually would look like if you're going to try to eradicate 𝐓𝐡𝐞. You're going down in a tunnel where they're riding around in motorbikes. So, I just think that what we're watching is this brutal assault on civilians as a punishment for a military victory. That these captives were they taken, that we're seeing the women and children out of a battlefield? Like, was it that they were saving their lives by bringing them, instead of having them attacked by helicopter gunships like we've done in our other reporting? So there's still a lot more to be known about October 7th. But what we do know about October 7th is that it was a stunning military defeat of Israel that they say is the worst since the Holocaust. And I don't understand from Israel's point of view why they want that. Why would you want to say that your sisters and your wives and daughters were somehow treated in a way that there's no proof they were treated? And why are they upset that their family and loved ones weren't tortured when they were held captive? Or why are they making such a big scene about how how terrible it is that Kassam's showing these videos of them being released, being happy? You would think you'd watch and want your family members to be treated well, and that there
Well,
would be
not
some
not if you're
battlefield respect, that you would take care of your own soldiers and you take care of other soldiers because you care about your own soldiers. Palestinians are giving dignity and respect to these captives that aren't given to them in prisons.
Right.
But as a fighting force, Israel, normally a fighting force treats prisoners to some sort of standard, prisoners of war, because the presumption is that your people could be part of that too. And you want your people taken care of when they get captured. But there's none of that for Israel. They actually want to tell lies about what happened to their loved ones that didn't happen to them. It's so, when you just compare the brutality that we reported on for the first hour of this show, and then you compare it to just just the humanity of the Palestinians under this circumstance, to even in the middle of a war, to even that Qassam, never mind the Israelis, that the Qassam fighters want to give a secret handshake to 𝐓𝐡𝐞. They're not worried about what that looks like, or if their people will think that they're weak. They're just resistance fighters that their people think are heroes. And if you think that you're eradicating Qassam by this whole process, you're making the most popular political movement for decades to come. And look at the way that they're reacting, the way that they're treating people under this brutal circumstance. They're showing the whole world the juxtaposition between Israel and the people fighting for liberation. And if this is actually a war for liberation, like they said, there's going to be more war. And Qassam's ready for more war because they're not going to turn over those soldiers unless Israel is releasing thousands and thousands, if not all, of the prisoners. So I think the idea that somehow Palestinians can do something to avoid a next stage of war, it's not right. That's not how it works. It's Israel's not waiting for something and then they'll say, oh, okay, now it's enough. No, they're fighting a war for liberation. Everybody knows there's another stage coming. If it's not tomorrow, it's next week. And everybody knows that those soldiers are not, Israel's soldiers are not getting out of jail without thousands of Palestinians. And I don't like speculating, but that's one thing that I would be consistent on. They're not 3-to-1 exchanging soldiers. So there's going to be another phase of this war. And I don't think that we should believe that there's something Palestinians could do to avoid that. It would come even if they gave all the prisoners up. This is how Israel has handled this for 75 years of having a state, and 25 years of armed struggle before that. So I think there's going to be another war, another stage of this war, and I think that it will fail too.
Yeah, Israel is getting really good at failing, and we just hope they continue.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.